Hello friends, Mandar here. I'm back with another video. Today we are going to talk about the two bills that were passed in House last week on Thursday. We are also going to talk about some of the questions that I have been getting from users who are in the adjustment of status process. There are questions about the job change, travel, and so on. I think you'll want to know this information if you are in the pending adjustment of status. I'll also give you some exceptions that are happening in this process and my perspective on that. So if you are interested in this topic, watch this video until the end and let's get started. If you are here for the first time, welcome. My name is Mandar and I make immigration related videos for US and Canada. I'm not an immigration lawyer, so anything that I say on this video or on my channel is for information purpose only and not a legal advice. If for your specific immigration needs, you should hire a competent immigration lawyer. In the last couple of videos, I have covered EAD, travel and few other things that are most common questions to people who are in the adjustment of status process. I give a lot of information based on my personal experience and from the experience that people have shared with me. But there are some situations where some people disagree with me, and that's okay because everybody has a perspective. So any information that I give on this channel, to be honest, this is from my personal experience. And if there is a very critical situation with your case or with your visa status, you should really consider hiring an immigration lawyer. I would say refrain from just taking information out there on the internet or from the YouTube and ask your specific questions by making an appointment with a competent lawyer. Yes, you will have to spend some $100, $200 or $500, but that will be worth it for your particular case. But don't make any actionable things that will impact your case based on anything that you listen on this channel or anywhere on the internet for that matter. So I hope it's clear for most of the people that anything that you hear on YouTube or internet is for information only. So with that said, let's look at some of the news that has come in last week. Now, House Democrats pushed a bill forward in the House chamber last Thursday. Now this has to do with undocumented immigrants and dreamers. Both of these were passed in the House. They will be going to the Senate and Senate will have their own vote sometime next week. As you know, there is a slim majority in the House, so most of these bills do get passed, but they get some challenge in the Senate. Now in Senate there is a rule that they have to have at least 60 votes out of the 100 to actually avoid any filibuster. So there is a little bit of a support that they need to get from the opposite party, which is GOP. So we'll see what happens with this bill in the Senate, but here they are. So the first one was provide a pathway to citizenship to all the dreamers. Now all these children who have come at a very young age in the United States, along with their parents who were undocumented, have been living in the United States for throughout their life. They have made a life here. They went to school, they went to college, they have jobs, and they have contributed to the economy. So it only makes sense that these dreamers who have come here not by their choice but through their parents should get some status. So that's what this bill does. This bill also includes the legal dreamers. There is another video that I made a couple of weeks back with some legal dreamers who are in this country whose parents are actually on a visa or a work visa, but they have been waiting for their green card for a long time. In the meantime, these children have passed 21 years of age, which has made them invalid on their parents' application. So now these kids are also included in this Dream Act. The other bill was 1603 Workforce Modernization Act. This is also passed in the House last week. This bill will allow farmers and their children and their spouses to get a legal status in the United States. So both of these bills have passed in the House and they will be going to the Senate to get their approval. Now in the meantime, Republicans have also introduced a dignity proposal. What this includes is additional dollars to be funding the border security. So they have made some specific demands that there is a crisis at the border. All of a sudden, now that the Biden administration is in power, there is a rush of migrants trying to enter into the United States at the southern border. So now the dignity proposal put forth by House Republican include that there should be some security, there should be some funding for the security at the border. There should be some consequences to the criminals. There should be prevention of abuse of the system. The criminals should be prosecuted and should be removed immediately. So those are some of the things that have been included in that bill. It also includes legal dreamers. So it also does the same, provides a pathway to permanent residency for legal dreamers. Now there is a 10-year dignity program and 5-year redemption program as a practical solution included in this dignity bill put forward by Republicans. Now I don't know how this will work, but in a gist of it is, it will allow 10 years for any undocumented people to prove that they are good citizens. So they can learn English, they can get a job, they can contribute to the economy and make sure that they don't commit any crime that will make them inadmissible. So that will be the span of 10 years. If they pass this 10-year period, then they will get additional 5 years to get their green card. And then that will allow them for a pathway to the citizenship. So it is a proposal that is put forward by House Republicans. We'll see where it goes. Now, as I mentioned, at the consulates, there is also some changes happening. There are some interview waivers for non-immigrant visa people. So they have relaxed some rules where interview waivers will be given to the people who have non-immigrants visas expired within the last 48 months. If that is the case, you will not need to go to an interview at the consulate to get your renewal visa for non-immigration. Now that said, there is a lot of a rush at the consulate because there was a couple of bans have been lifted and all of a sudden a lot of people have become eligible for immigrant visas and non-immigrant visas. So if you are in that scenario where you need to go to the consulate, check with the consulate, check the current rules and make sure you take an appointment ahead of time because there might be quite a wait. Now let's look at some of the questions that I have been getting on my channel on the recent videos. So I made some recent videos on EAD, travel and adjustment of status. A lot of people like those videos and there are tons of follow-up questions. Now the most common question is, I have applied for my I-485, the dates are current, how long will it take for me to get a green card? Now I would suggest watch my video on steps that happen after I-485 application. I have made a special video on that topic and I go into the depths of all the things that happen after you submit your I-485 application. So be sure to check that video. Now there is one question that is interesting. That was, can I change my job right after I get my green card? The answer to this question is yes. There is no rule saying that you cannot change your job if you have applied through employment-based category for your green card. As soon as you get your green card, that means you are free to live and work and study anywhere you want in the United States. So that means you can change your job even the next day after you get your green card. But thing to be mindful of is if your green card was based on employment, the fact that you had given an evidence of a bona fide job offer at the time of adjudication of your green card, that has to be true and valid. If you have made any fraudulent claims of a job offer that you had to get a green card, you could get into trouble later on. So just keep that in mind. As long as your case was clear, your job offer was valid at the time of adjudication and you joined that job, you should be fine. And coming back to the question, can you change your job? Yes, of course. As soon as you get your green card, you are free to work anywhere you want. Now another question is there any processing time difference between EB1, EB2 and EB3 category if the dates are current? I don't think so. As long as your date is current, the process is still the same, whether it's EB1, EB2 or EB3. You'll still need to give your biometrics, you'll still get your EAD card and AP card, you'll still need to go for an interview and the process is exactly the same. Now where the difference comes is in your local service office area. It depends on what your address is. So the closest USCIS field office will be where your final interview will take place. Now it depends on how crowded that place is, how many applicants are there in that geographical area where you are applying from. If the wait is longer, obviously your green card is going to take a little bit longer. So that's what it is. But there is no difference based on EB1, EB2 or EB3. As long as there is a valid visa number available, you should get your green card. Now remember, if you are between the ages of 17 or 18 to 25, you'll need to apply for serving in military. When you get your green card, you will also get a leaflet that will tell you instructions to do so. So be sure to sign up for any services that are required by the government. Now here is another question that is a little bit of a controversial. People ask me, I am on H1 or L1. Now I have applied for I-485, which is adjustment of status. I have also received my EAD and AP card. I'm still on my H1B and I have received my EAD and AP card. Can I travel outside of the United States and come back on advanced payroll and still maintain my H1B? Now in my past couple of videos, I had given you two scenarios in which you could lose your H1B status. Scenario number one is if you use EAD and if you give it to your employer through I-9, you lose your H1. Now your status is no longer H1 because you have specifically used EAD on your I-9 form and given it to your employer. So technically your status has changed from H1B to EAD. The second scenario I had mentioned is if you travel outside of the United States and came back on advanced payroll. Now what happens is your immigration status on your I-94 is changed to DA entry. It no longer stays H1B. What it means is now they have allowed you into the country as parolee for the sole purpose of your green card. As long as you are waiting for your green card, you will be allowed in the country. That's what it means, advanced parole. Now some people challenge me and say, how come my H1B is lost? The reason it is lost is because your I-94 status has changed. Now if you come back into the country and if you refile I-9 with H1, maybe your H1 is valid. Now on this particular point, I want you to talk to your lawyer and be very clear about what the law says. The reason I say is because you could technically be still using your H1B, but your I-94 visa status has now changed to something else that does not show it as H1B. So it is a gray area, that's all I can say. What I would say is when you come back, your status in I-94 has changed to something other than H1B. So if you still want to be on H1 and you need to fill out another I-9 form with your employer to keep your H1B. That's what I would say. So check with a lawyer on this, don't take my word for it. Now another question about the job changes, what does AC21 rule says? AC21 rule, you need to make sure that you meet two conditions. You have waited on your pending adjustment of status for more than 180 days. So 180 days start from the receipt day of your I-485 application. The second eligibility criteria is the new job should be in the same or similar category as your job mentioned in your I-140. So as long as you meet these two conditions, you should be fine to change your job. Now somebody asked me, do I have to wait for 180 days from the date of approval of I-140? That is not a requirement. So as long as you have waited and on pending I-485 for 180 days and you have the similar or same job category, then you should be able to change the job. So I hope it's clear. Now a lot of people have also come to me and said that they have received their EAD and AP combo card even before the biometric. So those people have not even received their biometric appointment and they have already received their EAD and AP card. Now what it suggests is they are not going through the background check and just giving and issuing out EAD AP card without anything. These are two different agencies. One is looking at your background check and biometrics and so on. The other agency, as soon as you submit your form for I-765 and I-131, they issue you a card as long as your I-485 status shows pending. But it is to the benefit of the beneficiary, so I wouldn't complain about it. Now another common question, and it is a very important question. A lot of people have asked me that if you get your green card EAD, can you change your job? How does AC21 come into picture? It is very interesting question. Technically on EAD, you can change your job. You can work for any employer or you can not work at all. That is all possible. Now AC21 allows you to maintain your job without impacting your green card application if 180 days have passed waiting on your I-485. If you want everything to be very clear and straightforward, I suggest you use AC21 rule to change your job. Now EAD is given for adjustment of status. It is given in all kinds of adjustment of status, not just the employment based category. It is given in asylum cases, marriage cases, family cases. In those scenarios, job doesn't matter. As long as you are in pending adjustment of status and you have an EAD, you can work for any employer. But in my employment based category, things are a little tricky. The reason I say it is because when you go to your final interview, the interview officer will ask you, what was your previous job? What have you been doing in the past several months leading up to the green card interview in your pending adjustment of status? They will look for your job and they will look for your supplement J if the job has changed. This is specifically in employment based category, and for that purpose I would say don't use your EAD if you are a primary applicant. If you are a secondary applicant, if you are a dependent applicant, it doesn't matter. You can change jobs, you can use EAD and all. But if you are maintaining your H1B status, L1 status, I would suggest use AC21 rule to change the job. Technically, this should not be a problem. By the definition of EAD, you should be able to change job or not work at all during your pending adjustment of status. As long as you have a bona fide job offer to start in the same job category that is mentioned in your I-140 when your adjudication happens for the 485. But things don't always happen that way. There is a lot of discretion, has a lot of gray areas. So I would suggest follow the highway, don't follow the sideways. Keep your case clear. You have waited long enough for your green card. Follow all the things that make sense to you and that are legal. And that was just my advice and just from my perspective. So hope that makes sense. So I hope you got some information out of this video. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel, and I will see you in the next one.